All right, thanks everyone for showing up again. My name's Eric Saturn or Baron Ulrich, and this was the second week of some small group tactics and melee procedures. So I'm going to do a quick review of some of the stuff we talked about last time. The first thing what's that?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'll mute. Oh, my apologies.
One of the things that always comes into play is understanding the level of experience that people have. So when there's always a bunch of people that pretty much start fighting together, there's always a lot of unknowns. How do I do this? What's the best way to communicate? I know how to fight in a tournament, but in a melee, now I have to support the person to the left, to the right, to the front, and to the rear of me. It gets to be a little bit overwhelming very quickly. So I like to start by breaking it down into the simplest forms and then getting a process of how the best way to practice and to look at it and then develop it into more and more detail and more strategies. So usually when people first start fighting, they get into a team, and we're going to use a small group team of 10 people. And when people do that, they come into play and they're looking at it, all right, I'm very new. Pretty much most of the time people fight very defensively because they don't know if they should move. They don't know if they should shift in formation or anything like that. So they kind of move a lot slower, a lot more confined, restricted, and that's fine. So you kind of start developing by going, okay, we're going to look at it and fight in a defensive aspect. And then when we get better, then we become more offensive. And then you can also start developing by breaking off and having a smaller element, as I described before, as like a rover. And a rover is just a person that breaks up or separates from the group and has a specific one aspect mission against your opponent, which is usually to delay them, to disrupt their movement, to essentially create like a block, which means now instead of them all just going forward, a block is kind of where they have to start shifting and they're creating like two angles or a corner. When that happens, it becomes really hard for an offensive team to move effectively. Because if this person, or if this group goes back, now they're like, okay, we're going to go forward, and now there's a gap. So this group needs to make sure that, or this side of it needs to make sure that they're still communicating, that they're still observing, because we also talked about that when people start fighting, they get this really tight tunnel vision. So the best way to start figuring out how to do stuff is to essentially break up into a main force and a small supporting force. We discussed it as a rover, which is either breaking off one person, and at that point, the other team will usually break off. If the person's really good, they might break off one other person, but the goal is to always over-number your opponent. So if they break off one person, the unit that you're a part of should break off two people to make sure that they can destroy that one person and then get back in formation. And now you have an overwhelming number of people, which is weird to say. If they got 10 and you got 10 and you killed one, you got 10 and they got 9. It's weird to say that that's an overwhelming number of people. But it's amazing how one person can make a huge difference, because that one person can now break off and become a distraction again. So we talked about that usually when you have a person that comes off and you break off two people, if you break off two people, if they're really new, they should be sword and shield, sword and shield. And if you got a lefty and a righty, that's the best combination. When they come together, they'll come forward as a group. They'll take one step off to the right, one step off to the left to create essentially almost like a V pattern, because at that point, that one person now has to shift their focus between two people that is not directly in front, and that creates an advantage. We also described the fact that if you have a sword and shield and a polearm person, the polearm person should be located directly behind the left or right shoulder of the sword and shield person. And that gives the polearm person both range and agility to both shift over to the side, either left or right, to strike at easy openings, or to go and use the butt spike to shift over to the side and thrust easily to the leg. And the other thing that we talked about that really needs to be focused on is the mentality of how to fight in a melee. The purpose is not to kill the enemy, but to win the battle, which means it is better to leg a person or arm a person than it is to kill the person. Because once they get legged or they get armed, specifically if the person has a 9-foot spear and you arm them, that person trying to thrust a 9-foot spear, one armed, or especially opposite arm where they're not really strong, they're totally useless on the field. So you don't need to waste your time and energy trying to kill someone that has no effect. So you go back to your force, you now have an overwhelming number of people again. So that is always the best way to begin, is to develop a 2-person team, figure out how to work together, communicate. All right, and I said that the best way to do that is what's known as a 2-minute drill, where the 2 people are going to fight defensively for 1 minute, and that one rover is going and doing nothing but attacking. And they're trying to figure out how is the best way to attack 2 people and win. Or how do I attack them, leg one person, and then how do I move to make sure that I now can do a single attack on the other person and leave that person who's now legged way over to the side because I don't need him or her, trying to do the nice little knee scoot and trying to shoot me right above the knee. So you always want to go and practice different ways of fighting. So the 2-minute drill, one person or one team is always focusing on defense while the other one's focusing on offense. And after 2 minutes, you swap it or switch it around so that the person that was doing defense is now doing offense, and the one that was doing offense is now doing defense. That way you can think about how to effectively work for your mission. So like I said, if your mission is to go out there and just delay 2 people, so you're that one single rover, you're out there, I'm going to get 2 people away from the formation, which means now my team has 9 against 8. My goal is to throw a couple of shots, step back, throw a couple of shots, step back. And that's where the 2-minute defensive drill really comes into play. Because now you're figuring out how am I being defensive, but that is my goal, is to delay the person. And the defensive drill is perfect on that. All right, my goal is to come in there and leg someone. All right, I need to go in there. What's the best way to do that? All right, I'm going to come in, I'm going to throw high, and then I'm going to step over to the opposite side and throw straight to the leg. Because everyone's thinking, oh, that person's going high. They bring both their sword and shield up, and that person comes in and then steps over the side and throws. And that's where that 2-minute drill of, oh, okay, I can do this. I can do this fake. I can do this move. And instead of like we always do when we do a normal fight, when we just pretty much go straight at each other, melee is all about movement. So this is where you start going, I'm now going to do a zigzag pattern forward. I'm going to go straight left, and then I'm going to cut right. I'm going, different types of formations, different types of movement. And same thing when you have, all right, I got one person who's a pole arm, and I'm fighting against a sword and shield with a pole arm. You now have to figure out, okay, if I'm the one person with a pole arm, I'm going to go and do a perfect strike, or I'm going to do a thrust first to keep distance so that sword and shield person has pretty much 0 effect on me. And then if I do that and I just keep on hitting high, that sword and shield person will go up, and then as soon as I go high, I go low on the sword and shield person's leg, and then I now have one person legged, and now I can focus on the other person. And if you can now disrupt, You've now eliminated 2. So your team is now 9 against fighting 8. All of a sudden, from that 9 to 8, you're now at 10 to 8 because you killed the 2 or legged them, and they're still way over there and they're not effective. You're going back there 10 to 8, even better odds. And it's amazing because when you start looking at how the calculations work, when you have superior numbers, speed of kills just increases. The people that move the most increase the number of kills and the rate of kills. So always a good plan is one of the best things to have. The other best thing to have is a great alternate plan. And that is when you're like, all right, our goal is to do this. But the second course is as soon as they yell charge, we're going to bring all the shields up. We're going to have the pole arms push back to make sure that they don't bust on through. And as soon as they hit and they're not moving anything, their offensive engagement or their attack has failed. Now we counterattack. And that's when you say, we're going to counterattack to the side, or we're going to counterattack. And like I said before, when I'm commanding, I'm always stepping back and I'm always looking at the field to see what's there, what's a strength, what's a weakness, where can we move? And I'll put my sword on someone's shoulder and I'm saying, you flank over here, you go with him. And I'm just pretty much telling someone, because you have to pretty much, when they're focused, you have to get their attention. Hey, you go over there, you follow him, all right? And then you start developing tactics. That's when we get to pretty much what we're going to be talking about today. And that's pretty much the next level of tactics. We're still going to be talking pretty much at about a 10-person form, but we're going to start increasing the size of the roving element. So before we were talking about one person breaking off and then 2 people attacking. Now we're going to come up with, if 2 people break off, we're now going to send 3 people to attack. Okay. Now, once we start understanding this concept, this is when you start realizing when you start building or commanding a bigger melee unit, you need to have a main force, a supporting force, and a reserve. And like I believe I said before, usually if I'm in command of a big melee unit, I will always be in charge of the reserve, because I want to be able to tell them to punch a hole through there or go over there. Our team is collapsing. You need to block that gap so the enemy doesn't come on through. So they need to be able to respond to whatever the most advantageous thing is to win the battle, whether that's to block a hole, whether that's to punch through, whether that is to just flank, whatever it is, they need to be able to adjust quickly. And when we start talking about 2- and 3-person tactics, it's the exact same type of thing. You work as a pair, and then that 3rd person is kind of as a reserve. They're kind of waiting a few seconds to see what's going on, see how the enemy moves, and then they readjust to find the best opportunities. So again, with the small little dry erase board, hopefully everyone can see it pretty well. So we're going to have the enemy is going to come out with 2 people who are doing sword and shield. Okay. We will want to always have a numerical advantage. So we will bring out 3 people. If you see 2 people that are sword and shield, what 3-person combination would you guys choose to go after them?
I'd pick a sword and shield and 2 pole arms.
Okay.
I'd do 2 swords and shields and 1 pole arm.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, let's go with the first 2 swords and shields and a polearm. Okay. How would you pair them up, and what would your commands be for them?
I would put the 2 swords and shields basically facing off against the swords and shields, with the polearm in the middle, taking shots where they could on the middle behind, yeah.
Okay.
Taking shots over their left and right shoulders respectively at openings that my swords and shields make against the others.
Okay. With this type of formation, I would tell my sword and shield, all right, when you get up there, I want you, instead of going straight out, I want you to take one gigantic step to either side.
Okay.
Why do you think that is?
Divide their attention.
Right now, I feel like playing liar's poker. So
Dividing their attention so they can't focus on one person.
it's giving this person the opportunity to come in and either choose a left or right opponent as
Okay.
their best advantage. That would, if I had a sword and shield and a pole arm, this is the formation that I would tell them, this is how I want you guys to fight first. So this is how I would teach them. Now, another one would be I would say, all right, pole arm, I want you to wait about 3 to 5 seconds. And I want you to see what the enemy does, whether they're going to kind of focus straight in on one, and then that one will come in. And then at that point, that person will now go, okay, since they're coming in here, they're focusing here, I can now sweep to a weak side, and the weak side is usually going to be the one where the enemy is not focusing their fight or their visibility, because they're going to be, like I said, they usually go and focus. I'm going to do this, and this is my plan. And once they commit to the plan, the sword and shields on our side focus in on that and kind of hold them, while the pole arm, which is much more maneuverable and has better range, can now outflank them and get into a good killing position. So that would be another formation that I would plan with and practice, like the 2-minute drills again, with 2 swords and shields and a pole arm. And that's essentially the formation. The first one you talked about is what we call a V formation in the military. And this one is actually called, essentially, it's a Y formation. What it does is it allows these two to focus, and it allows this one to swing back and forth. So, which are 2 very good ways of practicing with a 3-person team. So, very good on that. All right, now let's go with the 2. You said 2 pole arms and a sword and shield. Oh, most excellent. All right. Okay, so you're doing essentially, I'm going to redraw this can everyone see his diagram?
Oh, wait, sorry. I realized that I was muted. So I was sitting here talking about it. So, all right.
Okay, can everyone see his diagram?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
So what I'm assuming here is 2 right-handers. Got a sword and shield here to go up to engage him and pull it. Now, obviously, this is reversed. It's flipped. So to me, this looks like this is the right side. I guess I know on the camera it looks like it's the left, but anyway. So pole arm goes to whatever sword side here, whether it's this guy or this guy. These two go in straight and engage while you have one running, going around to flank.
Okay, now my quick question is, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get the pole arm and sword and shield to focus on one and having the pole arm focus on the other? Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm trying to do is get sword and shield guy here to try to engage the two of them with the pole arm engaging one. So basically,
so
you need a good sword and shield man to make this work. But or someone with a really stout defense. So I mean, I happen to have a stout defense. So I can pull this off most times, and especially if somebody else is helping tie one of them up. Well, you have somebody else coming around and harassing them from the angles.
Okay. I think I know exactly what you're talking about. Now, this is what I would do as, if I was teaching this, I would say, try and make sure I'm kind of doing exactly. Now, I would say, all right, I want you to do this. I want the sword and shield. I want you to advance. And as soon as you engage, I want you then to step back.
Okay.
Which draws these two in to those pole arms.
Okay.
Because at that point, you're controlling the battle, you're controlling their movement. And as you said, if anyone who has a really good defense, what they do is they come straight up and then they wait till the last second and then they commit to the one throw, and then I would step back. And then, because as soon as you commit to the one, that other sword and shield will usually come towards you because, you've committed to that one. And as soon as you throw, you step back. And that pole arm is now coming forward. That other person's coming forward. They go together, and now you're engaging. And that other person will more than likely probably stop movement. And at which point your other pole arm is already in movement. So you've stopped their movement. You've gotten out of the way of their sword and shield potential dangerous weapon. And you've allowed the pole arm to get into place. And as soon as you step back, then immediately you re-engage again. And now you're talking this side with sword and shield and this side with pole arm. But no, see, that is exactly the level of stuff. I don't know if you've done this before, but that's exactly the type of stuff that I would be going through. I'd be going, all right, this is what we're going to do today. All right, we're going to do this formation. We're going to try this. All right, then we're going to break it up. Instead of two sword and shields and a pole arm, we're going to do 3 swords and shields, or we're going to do 2 swords and shields and a florentine, and then see how everyone works. And exactly the 2-minute drills again on, are we being offensive or are we being defensive? How is the best way to attack? Everything like that. So, nope, that's really good. Now, what other type of formation with 1 sword and shield and 2 pole arms could you do with this?
Nope, not needed anymore. Okay. Well, I suppose what you could do is so I guess the other way maybe is to do something like this, split them up. Sword and shieldman come up here just to tie one up, then have the 2 pole arms take him. Oh, exactly the same thing.
Exactly. No, keep on telling me, what were you going to do? What are you going to do with that formation?
Well,
We're thinking on
basically,
the same guidelines. This is great.
sure, sword and shield on sword and shield. The entire idea is just to keep him busy while your pole arms basically either take him out, take out the other guy, or leg him. You know, either way, it's you're removing him from the fight, and then at that point you're 3-on-1, and you do the same thing.
Exactly. So at that point, I would say, this is what we're going to do in this formation. Okay, you are going to come over here, and your job is to delay.
Right.
You two focus in on this, and if this person runs away like crazy, I want you to continue to chase him away, and then I want you to break off and come back and help with the sword and shield. So it's essentially, it's almost like the same thing. Whenever there's a pole arm in the middle, is easy to just go left or right in the type of stuff. This is great. This is exactly, see, it's like, I was like, I bet you I know what he's gonna draw. Because it happens. It's very, I don't want to say it's simple, but when you stop and you think about it, you're like, okay, well, where would be the best way? Well, obviously it would be over here, because then I can fight sword and shield against sword and shield, and I can come over, block, change his direction so he's not directly looking at me, but change it. So now these guys can go and attack this person. This person is not focusing. And yeah, that's exactly how things come into play. Now, I want you to think about another formation like this, but I want you to think about it as, I want to have a reserve person that's not going to move for 5 seconds. So am I going to use a pole arm? Am I going to use the sword and shield? And how am I going to effectively make that person be a danger?
Well, I mean, you can do it.
God,
you can
Emperor
do it
Rabbit,
with-
I want you to think the same thing too. Think about a reserve person.
Right. You can do it with just about any group of people. I mean, whether or not you have 3 sword and shield on 2, or even 3 pole arms on 2 sword and shields. I mean, you can do that. It's just a matter of the how changes. So,
But remember, the whole point is, if you got the reserve, you want to tell that person to do a specific mission as the reserve.
right.
So think about, okay, do I want that person to come in and find the weakest person and just come in and just do a run past sweep to the leg, kind of like a hit and run? Do you want to have that person come in and be a sword and shield and just come in and just do a huge shield back to kill momentum, kill movement?
So, I mean, one of the most straightforward things I would think is something like this, where you have sword and shield come out with that V, and you know, the kind of the Y thing we talked about earlier. You hold off, wait for these guys to establish where there's, you know, now you have a kind of vectored field of battle here, and then you come in and you take advantage of the fact that you've now split the enemy effectively. You can do it. You do basically the same thing with a sword and shieldman, a third sword and shieldman. Another thing you could do is flip the script altogether. And send in somebody to bust the 2 of them up right away while you have 2 reserves. And again, it almost doesn't matter what they are. I mean, pole arms are going to be more mobile, but you could pull it off with sword and shield too. This guy's probably going to die, but
Yeah, it's essentially like it's a punching on through motion. You want to punch on through to break up their formation.
Right.
All right. I'm gonna draw something for you, and then God, Emperor of Rabbits, you'll be next. So,
Oh, good.
all right. Now, the whole thing is what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to have 2 swords and shields and a polearm. And this is what I'm going to do. I want the swords and shields to come up in the V formation again. And then I want the polearm person to run straight up the middle and then dog leg to the left. And I want that person not to hit the person, but just to push the person onto the ground with their polearm against their shield. So they totally lose balance. They totally hit the ground. And as soon as I do that, I want that sword and shield on the left to break contact and do 2, partner up with the other sword and shield person and get that person on the right. So essentially, and I know it's backwards, and I'm sorry. Person comes up, they break off. This person comes up here and then cuts on over, takes the pole arm and just right against the shield, bring it up high because the higher you can push up, the more they're going to be off balance. Then I want this person to break off, and now we have a 2 against 1 sword and shield. And this polearm person is now delaying. Just leg them and leave them, and then come over here and 3 against 1. Now, it can be a little bit confusing, but the whole point is you tell the person, your job is to come up here, dog leg left, hit his shield with your pole arm, get him on the ground, and then try and kill him until the other people come back to help you. You come over here, you make a left, you hold them off until the pole arm arrives, then you kill the other person. Essentially making it, it's a bit complicated, but that's another way of thinking about how you can, all right, I'm gonna let them get in formation, get them, situate the enemy so they're in position, and then I initiate my reserve. All right, God, Emperor of Rabbits, your turn. Any combination you can think of.
So I would do, this is the one where we're like, we got like a 5-second wait on one of the guys, right?
Yes.
Okay. So for something like that, I would actually probably go 3 sword and shields. And I would have the other 2 move up and engage, stepping to the sides, like you said, with the other guy holding off. After a count of 5, I would have them hit either left or right and just literally try to flank and circle them to keep that one person off balance with this person doing a delaying action. And then once they've either legged that guy or not, they can come around and hit the other one, or they can straight finish this guy off and then hit the other guy there.
Okay, are you going to have any type of specific commands like you will always hit the left person, or you're going to go and see, oh man, the person, my partner on the right is really flailing. I need to help that person first. Are you going to?
I would say the person who's got 5 seconds chooses which one's having the most trouble and go and engage that one.
Okay. Now, let's have this as an option. The enemy sends out a sword and shield and a pole arm.
Okay.
Okay. So, Sven and Deborah, you can chime in anytime you want. I always love additional stuff. So, this is the enemy formation.
Okay.
how would you send out against them?
I'd have, if we're doing the same scenario, I would do the same thing where we come in and we do them like that.
Well, what weapon systems would you use?
Oh, the sticking with my 3 sword and shields, because that's what I started with for this one. I would do the same thing where they come around and do that, but I would tell my guy who's the QRF, I guess, the 5-second guy, to rush the polearm, because he's the more maneuverable and we want to keep him off balance and or killed. And then everybody can come in and go get the other guy.
So you're saying 1 against the polearm and 2 against the sword and shield?
No. 2 against the sword and shield, 1 against the sword and shield.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
2 against the polearm, sorry.
Okay.
And then 1 against the sword and shield. I was making more people. I was like, God Emperor of Rabbits, I produce people.
So 2 against the polearm.
2 against the polearm.
1 against the sword and shield.
Yeah, because I want to tie the polearm down because he's the most maneuverable person.
Oh, I love fighting against you.
Oh, all right.
Because my command is, all right, sword and shield and polearm, I want you to go out there, fight as a team. If they start breaking up to try and, gang attack the polearm, all I want you to do is just back away, let the sword and shield fight the sword and shield, and the polearm will just be throwing shots as they're retreating. And then throwing shots in a zigzag, and as soon as there's an advantage of some kind, that polearm is going to be good enough to kill one of the sword and shields, and your numerical advantage is not going to be helpful. You have to be very careful because that's a ploy. They want you to attack the polearm with your most number of people. Remember, the polearm is the most maneuverable, has the most range, has the most shot possibilities. So therefore, it's a one-on-one on sword and shield, and then you got two swords and shields that are being delayed for and pulled way out of range of your team. So how else would you do it?
If that was the case, then I would have 2 people engage the sword and shield, with 1 person doing a delaying action on the polearm, keeping within a certain distance, making sure they're, they know they have to have their spatial awareness up.
Exactly.
And the objective would be to limb the sword and shield so that he becomes useless, and then gang up and take out the polearm at that, and then they can kill the sword and shield at their leisure.
Okay, say you have a kind of a new fighter, an average fighter, and a really good fighter. All 3 of them sword and shield.
Okay.
Which one are you going to send against the polearm?
I'm going to send the really good fighter, because he's going to have the better spatial awareness on the battlefield. Because I want him to stay within the group of the guys.
I love fighting against you. You are so great. You are awesome.
Well, thank you. Dennis, I don't think he thinks I'm awesome. I have this feeling.
The most I would send would be the medium fighter.
Okay.
Because of the fact that a brand new fighter or sword and shield that's going to be out there and doesn't have a lot of experience is not going to know really what to throw, how to throw it, or kind of really focus again. So if you put a brand new newbie fighter out there, that polearm person's going to destroy them within 2 to 3 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
But if you got a medium one, the goal is to delay that polearm while the other 2 go down. So therefore, even a novice sword and shield person fighting next to you is a distraction to the other.
Right.
So at least you have that capability. And if all else fails, the other fighter's going to go, oh, this person's not that great. I'll kill this person. And no offense, if the newest, not the greatest fighter dies, but you get to delay the other one and kill the fighter that you're trying to, you have completed the mission.
Right.
So at that point, the good fighter runs over to the medium fighter and say, I am alive, or back up. And at which point, then you come back up, 2 against 1. All right, now you have a good combination again. So, but communication again, what is the goal? How would you do this? How would you set it up? All right, Dennis, what about you? What do you think with a sword and shield and a polearm? Most excellent. You're starting to really like these diagrams, don't you?
Yeah, I never got to play football, so this is how I get my fix.
It works. Football is actually a great, even soccer.
I did football and infantry. I know these diagrams.
There you go.
What's that?
So
Okay, so you would do the sword and shield, a polearm and back. That's good. Now, you're going to, how are you going to have these, your 2 swords and shields? Are they going to attack simultaneously? Is one going to come into the strap? What's your game plan?
So basically, assuming this is weapon side here, he comes in here and attacks. He comes in here, goes for the leg. And the idea is to take the sword and shieldman out, and then you run the pole arm up the middle. Well, I mean, he's basically, if that happens, he's gonna take off. But if for some reason you're able to tie him up here with the sword and shields, he can come up here and do his thing.
Okay. Now, if I was in charge of the 2 people, okay, keep it back up again. Okay, this is what I would say. All right, you're going to have 2 swords and shields and a polearm. Okay, be prepared that the polearm will probably attack as the last person or as a reserve. All right, so what you guys need to do is you need to make sure that whatever side gets attacked, that the polearm needs to kill the other sword and shield right away. Otherwise, they're going to separate you. And as soon as the first sword and shield person attacks, that is when I would tell the polearm and back. As soon as they get in and they throw the first shot, you rush straight in. And that's when I would tell the sword and shield on my side, all right, you need to observe that as soon as the polearm starts rushing towards you, you rush straight towards that polearm. So you're doing pretty much what you did, which is punching through the 2. So you pretty much have engaged both, and then you punch on through, and now that polearm and back is actually
something like this. So you come in, you do your thing. As soon as he comes in, you disengage and run back here.
Okay, so you'd be so you wouldn't have both swords and shields attacking the sword and shield. You would have one sword and shield attack and then attack the polearm in back. Is that what
you're saying? Well, no, what I'm saying is you both attack sword and shield here. I mean, he's going to throw some shots back here, but you attack these. He runs up. One of them disengages and comes back for the forearm.
Now, at this point, when I would be the sword and shield person, and the person that I'd be fighting with the polearm, I'd be going, all right, if we get a simultaneous attack, I will step to my left because that will give a big shield wall to protect you. That's when you will concentrate on the one on the right. So, so as soon as they come in, I'd step over, the other polearm would come over, and what I would, if they haven't been doing this for a while, what I would say is don't attack. If you're stepping out to the side to attack, you don't want to attack the same side that you stepped with. You want to attack on the opposite side, because if you do that, that person can come in and then jab over and get the other sword and shield. Does that, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I follow.
So you want to essentially almost step in and blow and throw a shot that's going to stop the person from being a threat to your sword and shield buddy that just stepped over to the left to come and engage. And at that point, I would say, all right, what you want to do is you want to engage, stop, and then what did I say to do with a sword and shield if you're a polearm?
What do you mean?
Okay, if I'm a pole arm
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not going to try and kill him, what do I want to do to make him ineffective?
Knock him on the ground.
Knock him on the ground because I'm seeing the other pole arm running towards me. All right, if I got a shot, I'm going to take it. But if I don't have a shot, I'm going to push him to the ground and then I'm going to go. And at that point, it's a one-on-one battle for about 5 seconds until that person gets off the ground. So that's how I would do the exact type of thing that we're doing right now, which is just wargaming through different things. I would have you in charge of the other side. I'd be in charge of this side. And I'd say, okay, do this. If this happens, do this. But you got to be very prepared. And it's even better if you're part of the 2-person or the 3-person team, because what can you do at that point?
If you're part of which team?
If you are a part of the 3-person team and I'm a part of the 2-person team,
Mm-hmm.
so what can we do when we're doing slow work or the 2-minute drills? What can we do if we're a part of that team? We can give orders.
Obviously, we can see what's going on. We can give orders to our men or women. We can, and we can say, all right, back up, reset.
Exactly.
How did that work? Yeah.
And that's the best part. If you're not actually in the formation, you definitely need to be outside the formation and still instructing. I say, I call it, we're doing the rock'em sock'em robots, okay? You're out there fighting and I'm out there going, right punch, high guard, leg hit. Or you can do the joysticks, whatever you want to call it. But when you're out there, you have to be adjusting. You have to be giving out commands. And if you're actually on the field, you can say, all right, step left, I step right. Okay, I'm pushing down, I'm helping you, back up. Everything that you do, then you can start figuring out what are the best commands that can be heard. What is the best way to see things on the field? To me, it's one of the best ways, because not only there are 3 aspects. Number 1, you learn so much about seeing the field on it. Number 2, you're communicating so people who've never done this before understand finally what's going on, and they start trusting you. And what that does is it makes you the leader. You go out there and you say, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. People are like, wow, this person knows exactly what's going on. I totally get it, and I totally trust this person to lead me in battle. And they're like, all right, what are we going to do? We're going to do this. And what we're going to do is we're going to set up, and then we're going to shift all the spears to the left. Why? When we shift all the 9-foot spears to the left, everyone's focus starts shifting like this. Oh, those things are the most dangerous. So what are we going to do? That's where we're going to peel right as fast as we can, cause them confusion, everything like that. And they're like, oh, crap. That type of stuff. And when it works, people are like, that was so easy. How did this person know how to do that? And that's really the best part about it. Especially, and doing it over and over again just re-encourages the fact that besides just understanding the basics, when you, like I said, when you see the field and you can adjust for it and you have the right commands and people can understand you, changing formation, changing what you're supposed to do, instead of, oh, we're going to flank, nope, we're going to peel left. Oh, everyone peel left. Peel. And what's also good is when someone understands you, they're like, I understand what he's talking about. And then you got 5 people, I don't really know. Just go there. And that person's like, now I'm in charge. I'm a junior leader. And you're like, all right, you're going to the next battle, you're in charge. What? Yeah, I saw you going out there. You saw what needed to be done. You gave the right orders. There was some confusion. You had no hesitation. I want to see what you can do next. And they're like, don't worry, just relax. Come up with a plan. give us the plan, and we're going to try it. And don't worry, if we know that it's probably not going to work, we know how to fix it, and we will fix it on the field. And you just don't say, that's a stupid plan. Oh, no.
So what we see on tier is not a whole lot of pole arms. Although,
Really?
please believe, Michael, that this will be something that we address in our little fighting unit. What we see is, particularly among knights, are just a ton of spears. They just love spears.
Oh, yeah, they cause the most damage. And especially it depends on, I want to say, the field or the battle that's going specifically on. They have, well, I know how to do this in this type of environment, and this type of environment. And I am going to freaking rock this. And I'm going to be Super Duke Dave Osborne, and people will sing my praises. So yeah, it works out well. And then people are like, hey, this person's really good. Maybe I want to do pole or spear alongside of him. And then he'll teach me. It's like that. It's that whole, when you are really good at something as a leader, people will follow and do exactly what you do. So yeah, I understand that.
So let's say we've got something out here, and I'll just draw this up here, and this happens a lot. Let's say you've got enemy formation. You got sword and shield, and 2 spears. I don't know what your notation for spears are, but
That's good. I get it.
so they got 9-foot reach. You step in to engage, and they're going to gank you. So what's your response?
Well, if you were a single sword and shield and you got 2 spears,
Well,
are you talking about in a gigantic wall and you have a whole bunch of sword and shield?
no. Let's say this is a skirmishing unit that's come around, and now you've got to respond to them.
Oh, you're talking about 2 people, or you're talking about 1 person, and then there's 2 people that come up with 9-foot spears?
No. Here's a 3-man enemy unit.
Okay.
Okay, 1's got sword and shield, 2 have spears.
Now, is this real or are you making this up?
No. I see this all the time.
I'm not trying to be a dick.
Yeah. I see
It's
this all the
rare
time.
to see it, actually. But that only.
Or we'll see a couple of spears.
I'm sorry?
Or you'll see a couple of spears, and then a shield will come and join them. I mean, that happens too.
It means that those spearmen are really good. Because, yeah, I've done that myself, but I also know how to run away. Oh, they're coming in. I just go and I turn around and I put the spear over my head and I just do this as I can't run away. So that no one can attack me with sword or polearm.
And no, I'm not making it up. I mean, this is on tier. This happens all the time.
Now is that skirmishing unit coming out to hit another skirmishing unit, or are they coming in to flank out the line?
Okay, we don't have. I've got to tell you, with very few exceptions, and there are some notable exceptions, such as the Myrmidons, but with very few exceptions, we don't have a lot of really good fighting units that I've seen here on tier. We have a whole bunch of people who like to fight, and they'll form a shield wall, and they'll have some spears behind them, and have archers, and so on and so forth. But we don't have fighting units that I've seen. Again, with notable exceptions, some households. So what I see a lot of is you have this big open field, and then you just have you have a few 3 to 6 guys over here making a shield wall, and then you got over here, you got these broken shield walls all over the place. You've got some folks that'll come up and have 1 or 2 shields, and then maybe 2 or 3 spears behind them and doing some stuff.
Okay.
Or sometimes you'll just have some spears out there, cowboy up, and happens all the time.
Okay.
And they're effective.
Broken engagements.
I'm not taking anything. I'm not trying to say these guys are bad fighters. They're certainly not. But you know, it seems to me like bad tactics that could, you can overwhelm a superior fighter with better movement, better tactics.
No, and you're right. And a person who has a phenomenal defense can get through anything. 9-foot spear, pole arm, combat archery, everything. They just have to have a really good shield, a really good defense, really good visibility so they can keep on moving and stuff. But yeah, it really comes down to what it sounds like is broken tactics or broken formations and stuff like that. And the whole point of broken formations is to not fight as a unit because they have the advantage at that point. So you want to, so put your diagram back up again. At that point, I would see that and I would grab every single or double person that I could. And I say, get over here, get over here, get over here, get over here. Now form a line. And at which point now we go back to small group tactics of creating the line. Now their advantage of broken melee is gone. The only way to beat them is to be superior to them. And that means at that point, if there's that sword and shield in the middle, oh, that's great. Please let that person be in the middle because then you would send a flanking unit on both sides and keep that sword and shield in the middle by going, all right, I got a 9-foot spear and I'm just going to attack the bottom of the shield because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make sure that if that person brings a shield up, I'm going to hit him in the leg, and that sword and shield is totally useless. So I'm going to say, and I would yell this, I'm hitting you in the leg. I'm going to hit you in the leg. And they're like, no, you're not. And then at some point, some other 9-foot spear is going to go, it's like,
right.
You piece of, I was trying to hit you in the leg. I don't know. Hey, my buddy was saying was definitely going to hit you in the head. But strangely enough, you can literally break up a formation by yelling stuff. And I'd be like, and one of the things I was going to bring up is, say for example, I have one 9-foot spear. Here's my line. And I have one 9-foot spear in the middle and I have one 9-foot spear in the corner. Everyone shifts focus to this area because this is the most dangerous because of the spears. That's when I would come over here slowly with about 2 or 3 people. And I would say, ready, ready, ready. And they're like, what's going on here? Or even better is to do the same thing over here, but I wouldn't send my 2 or 3 people. I would just send me and that spear, and I'd probably have one person back here, and I go, ready, ready. And they're like, oh, yep, they're coming over here. And then I would say peel, which would give be the command for everyone to flank from the opposite side. So if I say attack, it means attack with me. If I say peel, that means attack the opposite side. So when you have like a say, when you have really good communication, really good in the military called standard operating procedures, SOPs, everyone comes into play. It's like, all right, everyone ready? All right, we're showing the big face, ready? And then peel. And we're like, and they're like, what are they doing? Where are they? Oh shit, it's coming over the other side. And then they shift, and as soon as they shift, I go attack, and they're like, nah, you blankety. And what happens is it rolls everyone up because it's like, once you start rolling everyone up and compacting them, their ability to throw shots with a 9-foot spear is less because they can't fully extend their arm. Pole arms have to disengage, which means you have to get out of the line, which makes it collapse even more. So there's always really good tactics that can come into play. But if you see something and you're like, oh man, these people are better than us, how do we get out of it? Be better than them by having a better plan, by having a better formation, by not attacking them the way they want you to attack. As they say, fight your own fight. Don't fight their fight. And it has the exact same thing. If you got, say, the same type of situation where you have two really good spearmen and a sword and shield, like I said, I'd be a pole arm, and I'd get 3 or 4 other poles. And I'm like, all right, we got 4 poles against 2. And I'm going to hit you in the leg. I'm going to hit you in the leg. The person gets hit in the head because they're so focused on the leg again. Now it's 4 against 2. And at that point, everyone is always never attacking the person directly in front of them. So those 2 in the middle have double shots on who they want to get attacked. So they got 3, 3. So better tactics again. All right, this is what's going on. Jim Bob, get over here. What do you want? We need your 9-foot spear. Roger that. I can do that. Bring it on. You kill that guy with the biggest white belt in the world, I'll buy you moonshot. Done. That's done. What about some other people? Can you think of some other things or things that you've seen done that you have questions about? Or what about you, Sven? Deborah?
Well, talking about spears, I'm reminded of one of my friends, and it was in a tournament, not a melee, but it was spear and shield fight, and he just set his shield on top of the other guy's spear and laid on it, and then used his spear from the ground to stab up at the guy. Completely shut him down.
Yeah. Control of the other person's weapon is huge.
And legal.
I know a lot of people who try, and this is the part that I don't like, is when they try and flatten their shield on top of like a spear or something like that so they can't lift it up. That, well, first of all, it's just a bad physical form. You're going to get injured. Number 2, you're way opening yourself up for some shots. And 3, you can actually damage the spear to the point that they're still using it and they don't know it's damaged, can injure other people. Especially like in a castle battle where they're shooting over the wall and stuff, I would actually have people that don't have anything except a small little buckler for their left hand and nothing in their right hand. And every time they would try and stab over the wall or through the embattlements or whatever, the goal is to come up there and just grab a spear and then try and pull it out of their hand. It happens a lot at Gulf Wars. It is really, really a cool thing. And then you have people run up and they come up and they throw a shot down to try and get the person. That's why they have that little buckler so they don't get a nice little wrap shot over the head and stuff. But if you can grab a spear, it's amazing how many people will not drop a spear. So if they throw it and all of a sudden they grab it, they're like, ugh, ugh, ugh. And then all of a sudden it's like, this person is for 4 seconds, totally extended, totally open, and no one is throwing a shot at them. Why not? As soon as someone grabs a spear, grabs your spear or whatever like that, let it go. Come back and get a different weapon. But it's amazing how, as again, tunnel vision. Oh, no, you're not going to. Oh, well. That was stupid of me. I should have let it go. So, tactics again on different things. So, Deborah, do you fight too? I think she's just here for moral support. All right. Let's come up with one more type of thing. And do you guys want to do this again next week?
Sure.
Excellent. All right.
I'm down.
Okay, God, Emperor of Rabbits, you need to have some type of drawing capability like the rest of us, so that.
I will have one next week. I know where it is. I just couldn't find the pens.
Excellent. And I'll have actually homework assignments for you. And that is, I want you to come up with 3 different scenarios. And that's going to be come up with, and it's like I want to practice this formation. And one is going to be a 2 against 1. One is going to be 2 against 3. And then the third one is I want you to create your own that you want to try. It can be 2 against 2. It can be 1 against 3. It can be 4 against 3 if you want. Whatever you want to do. But think about, all right, the people in my group, this person is really good with polearm. This person's really good as a left-handed person. So I want to try and work them with Florentine. How would I implement a Florentine in whatever type of thing? So I want you to create your own for the third one with the people that you know. All right, so now the enemy breaks off. Sword and shield and Florentine. Correction, polearm and Florentine. Now you got to think
Can we
about.
shoot them?
Well, I mean, if you got combat archery, I'd be shooting combat archery at the Rovers all the frickin' time. But with a 10-person team, you pretty much don't have combat archery, unless you got a rule that you get 1 combat archer, and at that point, it's like, all right, you got 5 arrows before you're probably dead anyway, so choose them wisely. But remember, in Florentine, what is the most dangerous shot to throw to kill a Florentine?
I have almost no experience with them.
Shot straight down the middle. If you're trying to
do
throw
that?
the way to kill a Florentiner is to pretty much always throw a shot straight down the middle of them, never to the sides. Because when you're fighting Florentine, as you get closer, you get what's known as side confusion. So when you get closer and closer, you're like, all right, I'm going over here, but I stop right here. Or I'm going to stop right here because, well, my hilts are going to hit, or I'm not used to blocking past my center. So the center becomes harder to block as they get closer to the center. So the most dangerous shot to throw on a Florentiner is going to be the center shot.
Yes,
Because
well,
as soon as you throw that shot in the slot, they're like, I'm going to block it with my right. No, I block left. No, the right. And then they've hindered, they cause that 200th of a second hindrance that kills them because they are not committed to blocking with one specific side. So if I got a Florentiner as a rover, like I said, he's going to be the second most dangerous maneuver. Am I going to throw for leg shots? Or am I going to go towards center? And if I go for center, what weapon systems are the best to kill Florentiners straight down or
a polearm or a spear.
I would usually tell a polearm to always go against a Florentiner and not to go for the legs or the arms, but always thrusting high and thrusting low, because this is hard and trying to block low is even harder. So therefore, definitely if you get in really close, come up really high, you do a lot of gut shots with the butt spike on a Florentine.
You know, if they're Florentine and you've got a pole arm, don't you want to be aiming for like the sternum on a Florentiner?
Well, the problem is the way that a Florentiner evades it. Remember, when they're fighting and they're fighting center, what a Florentiner will do is as soon as they see a shot coming in, they're going to step out to the side.
Okay.
So when that happens, you have to tell the pole arm, all right, you need to make sure you're throwing shots straight in. And as they're going back, they're going to block or try and block and do this until they commit to totally evading. Once they totally evade, that is when the pole arm strikes a killing shot, strikes a legging shot, stuff like that. So it's one of those tactics, again, when you do the 2-minute drills. All right, for a Florentiner, I'm going to have a pole arm, and this is what you're going to do. You're going to go in, you're going to break off, and you're going to keep on thrusting, keeping range, trying for the gut shot, stab, straight on down top, or straight on down and then thrust, which is always a great one. And as soon as they have to change to block the center, that is when the killing shots or the maiming shots really become effective with a pole arm, because it's a different movement style than in tournament again. When they're in there, they're like doing this and they might step over to the side, but they're not changing blocking position. They're changing attacking position, not blocking or defensive position. So if you got a Florentiner and a pole arm, what combination would you send against them?
I'd send 2 or 3 pole arms.
Straight 3 pole arms?
I think
Sure.
I'm going to agree with Dennis on this one. As much as I love my my shield wall.
I would do either 3 pole arms, or I would do 2 pole arms and a sword and shield in the middle, and tell the sword and shield and the pole arm to attack the pole arm, the other pole arm to attack the Florentine, because the Florentine, strangely enough, Florentine and pole arm is usually not a great pair combination. Because remember, when you have a sword and shield, the pole arm and back, he's using the sword and shield as a wall. And then person's going to shift over, attack, or thrust, going back and forth on left side or right side of the shoulder. You don't have that blocking capability with a Florentine. So therefore, the Florentine and the pole arm will pretty much always split. And they will always back away almost in the opposite directions, both in a delaying tactic. So at that point, yeah, I would definitely go pole arm against sword and shield against Florentine, and I would go either sword and shield and pole arm, or pole arm and pole arm against the pole arm. Because at that point, it's 2 very energetic, very mobile, trying to outflank, shift position, everything like that. So at that point, you also want probably the youngest people, really good shape, maybe the people with the least amount of heavy armor, so they're not going to get wore out so quickly from running. Because as we've done this in Melee, you just don't do 1 or 2 melees and you're done. You do melee after melee after melee, and after like 5 or 6, you're like, too heavy. I need pickles. I need tomatoes. I need a nap. I need my kitty to cuddle. And it's like,
A nap and a juice box, dang it.
yeah.
So we send everybody but Michael.
And string cheese.
I'm avoiding
No cheese, no soup. It creates a rock in your stomach. Don't do it.
Michael, when we start practice up,
Yeah.
the mission is to not take your helmet off until Sir Guy does. If you cannot take your helmet off before Sir Guy does, you win practice.
I'm going to lose practice a lot.
Everyone loses practice a lot. Sir Guy is just a machine.
I know. I never see him take his helmet off. He just
sits there and smiles as he keeps fighting and killing at everything.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's a very frightening thing to see.
You need to pad your helmet better with air ventilation systems and everything like that.
That's what I hope my new helmet has, because I got a Roman Centurion cavalry helmet, and it's got like openings on the side.
Nice.
My helms are padded with the ballistic padding from Kevlar's.
Yeah.
What I've got.
And
I need to get some for my new helmet. I haven't padded it yet.
Yeah, I just put Velcro, stick it in there. Therefore, if other people want to, they can just shift it around.
Yep.
I'm the only one that does that in my kingdom. And I was telling people, hey, you need to do this. And they're like, that's just stupid. Why would you put Velcro in your helmet? And I'm like, really?
Okay.
See how this thing feels? And they're like, so what if it's good?
What if it's good?
You were right.
Maybe it's the fact that we're right next to JBLM, because I know a bunch of us use it here. So
No, it's great. It creates big, nice air pockets. The compression is so good. People still have, I'm gonna wear the skull rag, and then I'm gonna put the padding, and then I'm gonna put the closed cell, and I'm like, you want brain damage? Got it. I mean, 150-degree temperature, no air circulation, and you're sweating like a pig. You're like, my eyes are burning.
I know exactly what's wrong with my current helmet, because I inherited my current helmet, and the only padding that I can get to fit in there is the closed cell crap that it came with, and I cook. So
I mean, I still wear a absorbent head cover thing to keep the sweat out of my eyes, but that's it. I mean, it's not a padded coif or anything like that. It's because I'd be nuts.
What was it? Those padded red Taekwondo helmets and stuff like that. I've seen.
That was the padding of my very first helmet ever. Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's good, but oh my God, that every time I've worn that, it's like, okay, I'm about to get a migraine because for some reason I feel like my head is being compressed with a tourniquet, but that's okay.
My helm, it fit my helm well, so it didn't have that kind of. But I had also people called me Dark Helmet because of how big it was, and it was, so that was the other side of it.
Well, there you go. All right. Can you guys think of anything else or some ideas? Anything that you thought about from today that you're like, didn't think of that, or something that I think we need to focus a little bit more on, or something like that?
Well, we've talked a lot about what you do to break off, break things off, and then get numerical advantage for the main force. What I'd like to talk about maybe next week is what do you actually do with the main force?
No, that's good. Yeah, like I said, when I started bringing it down into the smaller things so that you can understand, okay, this is what we do because their formation is like this and they're doing this. And that goes directly into how you work as the 10-person team, because it's like once you get up there, all right, we're going to come up here, we're going to create a wall. Now, are we going to attack first? And if we do, how are we going to attack? Are we going to attack with a flank? Are we going to do a quick attack, defend, and then let them in the process readjust, and in the readjust we re-counter attack? That's when it's the exact same type of things when you're doing one-on-one to when you do the entire formation in the exact same manner. And that's when you can understand how the small tactics works. You can say, I know exactly what's going on. We need to do this. Everyone needs to shift left. Pole arms, I want you to break off. I want you to do this because you're going to be the reserve here in the next 10 seconds because you're the most maneuverable, and there's a weakness on the right. So I'll come over to the right and I'll say, pole arm, flank or attack or punch on through, that type of thing. Same thing like you were talking about before when you had your one sword and shield person go into the middle. It's not done really well, but there is sometimes when you do the fake attack, which is you're like kind of like ready, attack, and you just send one person in and you see what their reaction is. How are they going to block against us? That's when you're like, oh, brand new person, you want to be part of my team? Great, this is your job. When I say attack, I'll say, attack that short guy with the red vest. What do? Just run right at him. That's all you're going to do. You're going to die, but you're going to die gloriously because we know how to defeat them. And we will sing your praises, and I will get you a really small moonshine glass, but because you're still new. But
It says cannon fodder on it.
we were all cannon fodder. So
Right, of course.
trial by fire. But things like that where you can start figuring out, okay, when they get ready, and all of a sudden, oh, they're going to be attacking, and they get into the formation. Oh, we now know their formation for an attack. And you're like, ready, flank, and you're like, crap. And then you peel them off, or you send you're a 3-person reserve to attack the corner, however it is. But yeah, we can and when we get into next week, we can definitely get into more of the actual formation. And like I said, when I usually start teaching people, I always try and teach them a 5 and a 5 or a 5 and a 4. So you get 5 people in front, 4 people from behind, and I'm the one reserved kind of wandering around. But at that point, they understand, they have a purpose. Not everyone's in a line. When everyone's in a line, the line is very weak. So when that happens, if the other side has, all right, they have 7 people in a line and 2 people either in the middle, it means our corners are weak. If they got 2 people or 3 people on one side, that means they're either going to try and flank from that side or the other side is weak. So, and that's when you do the whirlpool of death and everything like that. But no, we can definitely get into a lot of the actual formations and how everything works and moves, and a lot of the small actions, from the small little attacks to the counter attacks to shifting of the formation, everything like that. And yeah, that'd be perfect.
Okay, excellent.
Cool. All right, you guys got your
Thank you so much.
3 assignments for next week. And
I got them written down.
I do
like
too.
I said, I do a short little back brief or update of what we talked about before. So we'll do that as part of your 3 things. And then we'll get into the actual formations.
Right on.
Cool. Well, thank you all for showing
All
up.
right.
This is always great. And
Yes, thank you.
hopefully we
Thank you
can
so much for
actually
doing
do
it.
it in real life. I think that would be even better.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my god. Someday.
I just want to put armor again and get hit repeatedly.
It's amazing how we talk about this. We're like, yeah, you know, is there a wall I can punch right now? I mean, you're like,
I think
Go
your
hit
wife
your
would
true
enjoy
called hell.
hitting you in armor, Michael.
What's that?
I think if you put on armor, your wife might enjoy hitting you.
No, she doesn't.
Oh, never mind.
it's happened so much now. It's the
Yeah, exactly.
coolness is gone.
She's lost the magic of it.
The thrill is gone, huh?
The
All
thrill is gone.
All right. Thank you very
All
much.
right, guys.
And we'll
Thank you,
see you
guys.
again next week, same time.
Thank you.
Cheers.
All right.
Bye.